Hello and welcome back to the channel. Once again, Joe has been shopping down the middle aisle of Lidl and he has brought me some lovely LED lamps to try out. As we know, when polishing cars, lighting is a very big thing. I'm very fussy about it. I like it a very specific way. If these very cheap lamps from Lidl can provide an alternative solution, we might be onto a winner with them. This says it's an LED work light and it comes with some built-in sockets, which will be very handy. Means not necessarily having to run an extension lead for the polisher, which will be nice. We have the light on top, the plug sockets underneath, and it comes with a 1.8 meter cable. I'm not sure if that's going to be long enough for doing maybe a whole car, so might not be the best in that sense. However, if it's nice and bright and really highlights all of those imperfections, we might be onto a winner here. Imagine if I dropped it and it just broke. It would not be fun. This would be a lot easier without my BDSM gloves. So we've got our power button on the back. First impressions, the light is very bright, which is always nice to see. This power cable probably not going to be long enough, so a separate extension lead is probably going to be necessary. It's definitely going to be necessary. Literally on the instructions it says, do not plug extension leads into extension leads. So, first impressions. We have a very nice bright light. The added sockets are a lovely touch. Loads of adjustability to get your torch pointing exactly where you need it. The downside I have already noticed is the length of the cable. It's very short. We could have done with something maybe a little bit longer. For a cheap light like this, you can't complain too much. Sometimes you have to take some sacrifices when buying cheaper equipment. However, that is probably the main downside so far. When it comes to highlighting the defects on the side of the car, it's doing a very good job. We can see all of the blemishes, all of the swirl marks, all of the scratches that are on the side of this Mini. We are going to have a go at giving it a quick polish, see what kind of results we get, see if it's good for really picking up those deep scratches, and see how good a job we can do with this cheap work light. Right, so we're off to a good start. By the looks of things, these sockets work, which is what we like to see from plug sockets. We're going to have a quick go at polishing some of these swirl marks out, see sort of what results we can get, see if the light is really highlighting all of the imperfections in the paint. It will be interesting to see if this light gets really hot doing this. Obviously, we've got quite a bit going on here. We've got the torch going on, we have a polisher plugged into it. With a cheap product like this, there's always the concern of things getting quite warm. So whether you'd be able to do a whole car with it, I'm not too sure, but we're gonna find that out. So we have done a pass on the side of this door. The paint on this car is really quite bad. Cutting through it is a little bit of an issue. It's proving a little bit difficult. However, we are here to talk about the lamp. It is doing a very good job of highlighting everything. You can clearly see where you've been and the areas that haven't been touched. I am going to jump back in and do another pass. Then we will come back and do a little conclusion on this before moving onto our little handheld one we've got. So we have just gone over with our second pass. Just a couple of things. One, I would quite like some way of maybe a wall mounting feature for this, just so you can have it up a little bit higher. Would be quite nice just to sort of not have to prop it up against something or things like that. It would just be a little bit more convenient, I think. Second of all, after a quick touch of the old plugs and the lamp itself, don't seem to be generating too much heat. That's quite a pleasant surprise. This goes to show that it could be a bit more useful for doing a whole car as opposed to just the odd section here and there. So a couple of these might be quite useful for me in this valet bay. We are going to see how it looks with all of the lights off. Looking at the side of the door, we can clearly see that this light is plenty bright enough for the paint correcting job. So now we have the lights back on, there's a few things I want to sum up with this product. Overall, I think it is very good. I think it's definitely worth the buy. If you have a local Lidl, definitely run down and grab one, especially if you're doing jobs like this. I think the fact it has plug sockets, very useful. It's nice for obviously plugging your polisher in, any other of the cable operated or powered tools that you might have. The main part of this, the light on the top, is very nice and bright, really helps with highlighting all of our paint defects, which I really like. I'm also rather impressed with the fact that this isn't getting hot in the slightest, which is really nice, means we're not going to have any fire hazards, which wouldn't be good in a big wooden shed. I think I'm going to have a quick word with Joe and see if he can pick me up a couple more of these for doing maybe a whole car, instead of having to move this little one all the way around. I think this is a brilliant product, especially for me with all my paint correction jobs, and I'm sure even Ben might like to have a go on this, and it'd be useful for him as well. Now we've looked over this small socket and LED lamp, we're going to jump over to the little handheld torch that Joe has also got for us, and maybe see if that's good for any of the intricate little bits around the car. So after the great success of the first lamp that we've got, we're going to be moving on to this little handheld one. It will be interesting to see if this is just as good for highlighting those defects, and if it is also a very, very nice bright light that comes from it. So in the box we've got our USB-C charging cable, our instruction book, and the lamp itself. This looks like it's got a magnet on the back that we could stick to things, which is always nice. Get that torch up a little bit higher. You don't always have to be holding it. Got one on the bottom with our adjustable handle. There is also a nice hook on the top that we can hang the torch from. And then we have our power button on the front as well. So let's jump over to the car, turn this thing on, see how bright our light is, and see if it's highlighting our defects just as well as the last one. So over on the other side of the car, first impressions, we have two different lights on here. Both seem to be really quite bright. We've got a long LED strip which is highlighting everything very nicely, and then our spot lamp, which I personally prefer. It allows to see those swirl marks a little better and is also very bright. So we're going to have a go at this lower section here with maybe our hand polisher and see just how good it is. We might also try out the magnets that are on both the back and the bottom, maybe on one of these metal chairs we've got, to see how strong they are and if they're any good for maybe doing bigger panels. So to start with, we can see all of our blemishes in the paint. We're going to give this a quick polish, see how it comes up. Obviously, being a handheld torch, can't hold it the whole time. I'm going to pop it down and then look back after. So we had to switch over to the other polisher. The little handheld one wasn't quite man enough for the level of defects on the paintwork. As things go for our handheld torch, you can clearly see the blemishes, the section that has sort of been polished. It's not great by any means necessary. This paintwork isn't playing ball very well today, but both torches are doing a very good job of highlighting everything we need to see. The only slight problem I currently have with this is the fact that holding it and polishing at the same time isn't really ideal. However, as most of these small handheld torches go, they do have hooks and the magnets on the back. We are going to set it up to use it whilst doing a pass over the panel and see how it works in that sense. We are going to stick it to the side of the chair and see if we can get a better result out of this. So after doing another pass on this panel with the magnet feature, I am really quite happy with this handheld torch. The magnet feature is a great addition. It really allows you to see what you're doing whilst you're working. The magnet is also really quite strong. It doesn't move, it doesn't drop, it doesn't slide, which is perfect. This does the job really well for what we need it for, and even for those little intricate parts like maybe on the top of the car, it could be really useful as well. So overall, I'm really happy with this. So we have done a little bit of testing with the pair of these. Overall, I'm very happy. I think both of these products have a place in our valet bay down here at the farm. I think the bigger torch with the socket adapter is a very, very useful piece of equipment. It's going to come in very handy with future paint corrections. The only thing that I would criticize this one for is just that short power cable. It could really do with being a little bit longer, and having to still use an extension lead is a little bit of an inconvenience. The small handheld torch is very useful. It's nice and bright, the magnet feature is brilliant, and overall you can't really go wrong with it. There are several of these types out on the market. I personally think we are going to be getting a lot of use out of these down here at the farm. I know Ben has already asked to borrow this one because he has some work he needs to do. At the end of all of this, I would say these two are some great purchases from that Lidl middle aisle. Both are very good for down here at the farm, and you could definitely put these to good use at home, especially if you're doing the odd home job, whether it be a little bit of DIY or a bit of paint correction on your own cars. So that's it for today. Both of these products have been amazing. I am very happy with Joe's current purchases, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.